where they had scheduled against MegaCon on the same weekend. And how do you pick between two fantastic shows? So anyway, very happy to be back. I love the Midwest, and people were real nice to us.
Yeah, I'm actually from the Midwest, so I'm from Chicago. I just didn't get a chance to
Oh,
make it there because I moved to Vegas. So, um, I was wondering also, did you make it to the LA Comic Con last year?
not last year. I've been to that show once, but it's been a few years.
How do you like the shows between LA and Chicago? Like, what's your favorite one so far? Like,
That's so tough. Like for me to go to any show because I live in Honolulu, it's about a week away from home. So I
yeah,
try to go for the biggest, bang for the buck. And I would say San Diego, New York, MegaCon, those and C2E2 I'd actually put in there too, are no-brainers. Those are shows I kind of have to do every single year. And then if I do another couple shows, then we've been trying different things. We did Heroes Con, and we're going to try Dallas just next month. But we're trying to get around, go to different ones. I wouldn't rule out coming back to LA Comic Con or get back to what is ECCC. There are so many good ones.
now I saw in your background, my man. You of course everybody knows you won this competition for Wizard, right? We know that part. Now, what I wanted to ask you
Oh,
about specifically though is one is this your first work, right?
well, this cover is by Alvin Lee, I think, but you're right, and this goes way back. This is my first published work. There's a 6-page interior story in here that I happen to draw. Yeah.
So how does it feel like when you see your covers like just pretty much everywhere right now? How does that
Right.
feel? You know?
Well, it's what I've been wanting to do since I was 13 years old, and I'm 45 now, so it's taken a really long time to get where I wanted to go. But I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm glad it finally is working out. I have the luxury of getting to draw, just about everything I've ever loved. Marvel, DC, and just this week we have Josie and the Pussycats and
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the first time. So it's pretty exciting for me right now.
Yeah. And then the other thing I want to ask you about is another one of my big artists is Mark Silvestri. All right. So I heard
Legend.
that you had worked under him and worked with him for a while, right? He kind of
That's
got
true.
you going. Is that how that worked out?
Yeah, I give him a lot of credit. I'd been through university for 4 years, and then I did the Kubert School, which is a little comic school in New Jersey. Maybe you've heard of. Did that for 2 years, and then I got an internship at Mark Silvestri's studio, which is called Top Cow in Los Angeles. And so I came there with some skills, but I wouldn't say that I was like awesome or ready or whatever. But he's a fabulous teacher. All the artists, including guys like Mike Choi and Tyler Kirkham, were there as well, and we would all come in when he was there, specifically to get his eyes on what we were working on and get his thoughts, because it's like priceless, to get a master to look at your stuff and comment on it, right? On it, especially on a
Yeah.
daily basis.
110%. Now, other series that you worked on, like of course Witchblade, you had Big Hero 6. Um between I'd say like your first 5 projects that you did, all right? Which one do you think is probably your standalone favorite? Like which one do you feel like you put your stamp on it where it actually got you more notice than before, like any other project?
Hmm. Well, in hindsight, Big Hero 6 definitely jumps out. It's not every day your stuff gets made into a movie, so that was exciting.
Yeah.
But at the time, this was a really small, under the radar book. It was special to me because it was Chris Claremont writing, and it was in the actual Marvel universe, and I was having a lot of fun playing with style. I got to draw covers for the first time on a important book, so there was a lot of things that I loved about it. But it was a small book, and only because the movie came out that I think we're thinking about this today. It's sad that it's not no longer in like the comic book Marvel universe, but everyone knows what Big Hero 6 is now.
Yeah, for sure they do. I think they also have a project coming up, if I'm not mistaken. I think I heard something about it. It's supposed to be coming back in some form or fashion, but I heard a little bit about it, so I'm just waiting to see if it actually does pop up. Because you know how these things happen, where we hear about these things down the grapevine, and then later on it may or may not pop up. So I'm excited to see if it does, though. Um, I want to move on to something else. You've been into gaming for quite some time, right?
Oh yeah. If I flip my phone around, you would see my shelf with my physical game collection, which is what counts as my midlife crisis, I guess.
Now, which one did you have the best time working on? I want to say, like, because a lot of your stuff, bro. I'm not gonna lie, like, it's so nice and it's so clean, right? So I used to like, all right, when I got back into comics maybe 6 years ago myself, right?
Yeah.
I would hear big names, I would hear this name, I would hear that name, right? But every single time, I would always hear your name because I ended up getting a keen sight for your work. All right, so your cover is probably, I would say, the first covers that I really started to know. Like know your artwork. So when I see it, I'd be like, oh, that's Nakayama. So I would
Hey,
just be on a straight Nakayama buying spree, right? So
appreciate that. Thank you.
after all this time that I've been buying your books, all right, now you have some big hitters out there right now, right? You have some books that are extremely hard to find, and if you do find it, it's extremely hard to find it either high grade or just up there in general. The number one book, one of them that I'm talking about, is Tarot, and I want to know
Yeah.
your process, all right, on that cover, because I think that's probably one of my favorite Scarlet Witch covers ever. I'm not gonna
Thank
lie.
you. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
proud of that one. It's an interesting thing. There's this very specific period for me that I noticed where I was starting to get more cover work. I've been on a weird journey where I was doing comic interiors for a while, and then I did video games for a long time, but kind of came back to do covers. And as that was just starting to increase, I was getting more covers. I guess I was getting better known. Some of those covers were not ordered very much. It was before I was, I guess, like at the level I am right now. And so people weren't ordering it, but it was popular enough that people wanted to go get them, I guess. Somewhere in
Yeah.
that middle space. And Tarot is like that, and Apocalypse and the Extracts is like that, and the Dr. Afra covers are like that. These are total ghosts right now on the market. There just aren't that many copies of them, but people will bring them to me all the time at comic conventions because, like, not only are there not that many, but how many have been signed, right? Like hardly,
Yeah.
just a handful. So yeah,
Barely any out there.
Right.
I know.
Well, let me interject because that's what we got the slide up for because I actually had to do some research on this. So this was back in 2020, about 4 years ago, almost five. Highest that this book went for, and this is why there was such a big rush on this one. There was 1,001. It went for $1,150. That was the highest freaking price, right?
wow, wow.
Now currently it's sitting at $450 because people have been putting it more on eBay, more on that secondary market.
Mhm,
But currently on the census total, there's currently
mhm.
120 of these bad boys out there. Just nine
Wow.
eighths. Just nine eighths. There's only 108 within the last 3 years because people are holding on to these right now. There was 20 sold within the last 4 years, so there's definitely some blue chip power to this thing. And
Hmm.
don't forget that this was the first appearance of Major Gamma, which is why you got the great freaking artist on top of a first appearance that made this such a great book.
Excellent. I wish I had
Indeed.
more copies. I've got like 2 copies of this.
Well, you can always release it as a foil, I mean, or something like that. Get it out there.
It's not a terrible
Definitely.
idea. We do a lot of foils with our Unknown Comics exclusives, and we've gone back and foiled older works. But
Yeah.
what we haven't done is grabbed old, covers like this that Marvel had previously done and foiled that. So I wondered if there's a possibility to come back and try that. That'd be great.
Oh,
I'd love a
oh,
foil
oh,
of this.
Oh, you know they would. You know they would, especially if it was, say, no, it's too late for SDCC, but maybe like an
Yeah,
NYCC exclusive. It
yeah.
would probably do something like that.
It's just about permissions. Marvel would just have to give permission to Unknown or whoever to actually do that, and it's
Mhm.
unprecedented. They haven't gone back to their old variants yet for that purpose, but I hope they would.
I mean, well,
Indeed.
there's the Ji Hung Lee has done quite a few because there was they re-released the Spider Gwen as a Lamole, Mexican Lamole, and then they did a foil of that as well. And the problem is that if you do it too soon
Mm,
after it was re-released, then it just spoils the love for it because there's too many copies and there's too much to filter through. Thing.
mm.
But yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Another thing I wanted to ask, since we're on the subject of exclusives and everything, you know, um, I've worked with a couple of people where we've had artists do covers, and I've seen the process behind the scenes. Which one do you prefer to do? Do you prefer to do small shop exclusives, or do you prefer the big, unknown comics and big vendors?
I guess it doesn't really matter who I'm doing it for. So, for example, our Josie this week is for Comic Kingdom Creative, and it's a small batch. And the reason I took it is because how else would I get the opportunity to draw Josie? It was a first time situation, and so I jumped on that. But in general, I do like working with Unknown Comics because we do the convention circuit together. They run my web store, so there are a lot of extra benefits that happen organically by doing a book with them. It's just kind of like it helps populate my own merch store, if you want to call it that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, well, nowadays, dude, you're pretty much a household name. Like if you go into a
Thank
comic
you.
shop,
I hope so.
no, I worked in a shop for 5 years for the last maybe like 5.5 years, and you're literally probably one of three names that they always come in and they ask for it, especially when you have new work that's dropping. They come look for that book, and if you don't get it that Wednesday when it drops, you resort to online. And if you miss it on the online stores, now you're on eBay. But you're one of those three names.
Thank
I
you.
think,
Wow, awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
seriously, Momoko was one of those drives, and Art Germ, but you're right there because the most three mentioned names ever are
Yeah.
those three
Well,
names.
you gotta Art Germ is more of the old school. So you got old school to be like Hughes, Matina, Art Germ, Middleton, Prison. But Mr. Nakayama, he's that new school that he doesn't quite have like a whole row of blue chips, but people are definitely asking for him. So we got Mr. Nakayama, Souza Micah, Peach Momoko, and Clark, Torrin Clark. That's
Great.
new
Well,
school. That's absolutely
it,
dominating the game right now.
it's fantastic company to be in. I think all those artists are incredible. And there was a period where I was buying, those fabulous art germ covers. He was really putting out a lot of DC, Catwoman, Supergirl, that kind of thing. And I remember looking at that going, this guy's really got it figured out. I need to I he understands the marketplace. I need to do that.
Another thing I wanted to ask you about is the when you work with Hasbro, right? What
Mhm.
was that experience like? Because I'm a big collector, all right? I
Mhm.
collect pretty much everything, right? So when I went to the store, I picked up one of the newest waves. It was actually an X-Men wave, right?
Yeah,
And I saw some of your work on it, and I was just like, wow. So you're telling me I'm buying the books, and then I can also get the figures sitting next to the books. So I was just happy. So
right.
what's that process like for you? I always wondered that.
Well, I'm just as much a fan, and so if someone like a Hasbro comes calling, you're like, "Oh my gosh, yes, please! I would love to work on something like that." And it's one of my great joys is like the shelf over here has got all those Marvel Legends figures that we've worked on together, and they're always, cool Marvel characters. Sometimes they're deep cuts, but I love those too. It's just cool. It's a Marvel thing. It's a figure you can hold in your hand. They took really good care of us, artists. They pay really well. So I have universal praise for that company. I love working on those, and I would always be down for more of that.
Yeah, you know what I love to see is you work on a hash lab box, because we're on what maybe our second, well, technically our third hash lab, but only two went through. So it'd be great to see your artwork on one of those hash labs, dude. I would die
That
to
would
get
be
one of
cool.
those. Yeah.
Yeah, they've changed the way that they work with artists recently. They've slowed that down a little bit, but my door is always open for anything Hasbro, anything related to studios, anything related to video games. I have a lot of fandom, so it's really easy to get me excited about stuff.
Now, quick question: how do you like when you're called to do a cover, right?
Hmm.
Um, do you have to complete the 1 through 5, like, when they're asking you for it, or do you just drop, like, a cover at a time? Like, how does that really
Yeah.
work? How do they come to you about it?
It's usually like, hey, we're starting a new series. If it's a series, a lot of times they're just asking for one cover. But if it's going to be an ongoing thing, they'll say, hey, we're going to do a 5 issue series. We want to contract you for six, something like that, and you'll turn them in one a month, and that's that. And it's just up to you to juggle your deadline and manage the time.
Yeah, so speaking of that, I know you got something special coming for us, right? What
Yeah.
little sneak peek can you share with us? Because man, dude, I watch your Instagram every day. I saw when you teased the Josie and the Pussycats, and I was just like, oh man, that I can't wait to see what that is. So I know you got some more coming. You never
Yep.
stop. So what's
Well,
what's one of the next projects?
gosh, I'm really excited about like when the year turned over, I was so curious what this year would be because you cannot predict. Things are dropped on the schedule maybe a month in advance. So you really can't see the future. But now I'm starting to understand what 2024 is. And it's looking like a lot of really cool new DC projects. We've just wrapped up my longest ever run on anything, which is 16 issues of Catwoman. Loved it, favorite project ever. And we wrapped up a somewhat shorter run, maybe about 8 to 10 on Poison Ivy. But after those are done, wait till you see where replaces it. Just as good. Uh, if you like those things, you're gonna love what comes next. And then
Oh
on
yeah.
on the other side, I am really excited about some Skybound work coming up. Just turned in my first one of those,
Nice.
and out on Unknown Comics website right now, they just dropped my first ever Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cover. We'll do four of those in my color bleed style. Hope you guys like that. But that is another thing I've never done before. I always wanted to, and it's just all happening now.
Yeah, that's pretty. I'm starting to see a lot of new artists, like not necessarily new as in starting, right? But I'm seeing a lot of artists do books that they haven't done before. Another guy, since you mentioned Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I was kind of blown away when I heard that Jason Aaron was going to be on Turtles.
Yes,
So is that's the
it's
Turtles you're
that
working
book.
on? Oh
Right.
wow,
Yeah.
dude,
Well,
yeah.
that was part of the reason is like Unknown Comics is like, hey, Jason Aaron's writing this fabulous new TMNT book, great artists. Like this is a really great jumping on point. So we all agreed that was the time. So that's it. The first one they announced is for Jason Aaron's TMNT one.
Oh yeah, dude, this is exciting time.
Definitely.
Now, I wanted to know this, like, when how do I say this? Like, when you go to Target, right? When you just go to a regular store, right? And
Yeah.
you would go and you'd see some of your legends on the shelf. What's that feel like? Because I know that has to feel like a major accomplishment, you know?
That was really special, and that was it was such a short moment in time. But for a year or two there, the waves that I did were actually routinely coming out in Target, and I got to take my family there, and we could pull them off the shelf. That was really cool. They don't do it anymore. The way that they sell toys has really changed. But
Yeah.
for a short time, boy, that was really cool. And also, it sort of happened at GameStop as well. If you
Yeah.
looked, like even to this day, I bet you there's some of the Sleepwalker or the X-Men retro cards. I still see some of those at GameStop when I go.
Yeah, dude, you know, I remember when they first started coming out, dude, I couldn't stop buying them. If I saw it and I already had it, I still got it.
No
So
way.
yeah, I definitely understand. Um,
We'll have to
you
sign
know,
those for you one day.
one of the biggest things in the world going on right now. Of course, we all know. Go ahead and throw the shirt up here, right? So
Yeah.
let's talk about it. Let's. What were your thoughts? Did you finish the finale?
I did, yeah, and it was fantastic. And this is probably a good thing to go out on. There's only a few minutes remaining before I got to go to my doctor appointment, but what a great show! Total fan service, like in a good way, not a cheesy way, but
Yeah,
it's everything you remember it being, but brought up to the maturity level you are now. It had all the Easter eggs you could ask for. It had like an epic conclusion. It paid off Rogue in the best way I think I've ever seen, comics or otherwise.
yeah.
I mean, I could go on. It was great. Oh, the setup for the next stuff looks really exciting.
Yeah,
So
I'm interested to see what that's going to be because everybody right now is well, you kind of got like a mixed crowd. Everybody's gunning for this book, this X-Men 185, and on the cover of that's the first appearance of I guess Gambit as a horseman for Apocalypse, right?
yeah,
So you know going forward, dude, if you ever get on any more X-Men titles, I would love to see some callbacks to that because I just pulled and posted your X-Men 92 #1, all right, where you have
awesome.
everybody running at each other. And we were just blown away at the fact that okay, we know some of these characters came up a long time ago. You got Sebastian from the 90s and then, so on and so forth. But I thought it was pretty dope of how you had them on the cover, and that was like almost 9 years ago now. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
the format that you had, it almost matched the show precisely. So I was just like, I
exactly.
was blown away.
Well, you just reminded me that I've actually drawn Bastion. Up until just now, I didn't remember that I'd done that. But yeah, yeah, it's really great to see these characters that were maybe a little forgotten or sidelined. I mean, he's suddenly the main villain of the hottest show on television. Who could have predicted that? That's really cool. It's nice to see them go back and dust those off. And in the same way, I would say the whole Krakoa era of comics was like that for me. Like the way that they made every dead character. They brought them all back. They made everybody relevant again. We hadn't seen Moira McTaggart in like 20 years, and she was like a really important feature in the story.
Yeah.
I love that it makes stuff that I cared about relevant again.
Yes, indeed. Because it was extreme nostalgic for us. I mean, the entire show. I mean, a lot of people that were trying to wait for the series to conclude to watch it. I saw a lot of them hop on, after maybe the first two episodes. They just couldn't wait that long,
You
right?
can't do that. It's
So
appointment viewing. You got to watch that once a week as soon as it comes out.
yeah, that's why I can't wait for season two. And it was an incredible show. I'm just so curious to see where they go forward because I see maybe what three different storylines that they're kind of tying together to go into season
Yeah.
two. So I just hope fingers crossed that they carry the same energy that they had for this season into the second season, and then we can go all out. But if you ever decide to just draw something randomly, I would love to Bastion. If you, we haven't seen him yet on one of your X-Men covers. So
That's the one you're talking about. That's true. But it's funny. It's not. I think I kind of ran out of time to just draw stuff for fun a long time ago.
yeah.
But all the stuff that people hire me to draw is stuff I love to draw. So all it would take is Marvel to say, you know what? How about this? How about Bastion? And I'd be like, yeah, I love all those old X-Men characters. But they got to ask.
All right, Lucas, you want to close with anything?
Hey, I just once again we're gonna probably put this on the actual drunken chat. So we will be doing a giveaway. So all I need is a soundbite from Mr. Nakayama to say, Lucas, spin the muffin wheel.
What was it? Spin the muffin wheel?
Yeah,
Is
say
that
Lucas, spin the muffin wheel.
all right? Here it is. Lucas, spin the muffin wheel.
All right, thank you very much.
All
I
right.
mean, and yeah, I mean that's all I needed. I mean, once again, once again, during the show, we will be talking about the rest of your work. Unfortunately, we ran out of freaking time. Like this freaking beautiful one. This is
Ah,
another beautiful one. The Wonder Woman in Black and Gold, #6, high 600. Blah blah blah. And I do have some surprises on here that we didn't get to talk about. But yeah,
hi. Sorry,
we'll,
my
we're,
alarm
we're,
went
yeah,
off.
yeah,
But yeah, that's my holy grail, man. So excited about it.
yeah.
All
And
right.
I think
then
we lost audio again, but
No,
I
you're
want to
good.
say thank you guys very, very much for having me on. Hopefully, we can do it again sometime, and have a great weekend.
You too.
Indeed.
Talk to you
Appreciate
guys
you,
later.
Nakayama.